Come and See, released in 1985 by Soviet director Klimov, is widely regarded as one of the most harrowing depictions of war ever committed to film. Its reputation as an anti-war film has grown steadily over the decades, and today it is often treated as the prime example of the category. A film that not only portrays war, but actively resists the cinematic tendencies that represent war as an aestheticized, entertaining spectacle. But this reputation is not uncontested. Scholars and critics continue to debate whether anti-war cinema is even possible, with François Truffaut's famous claim still forming the basis for skeptics in war film discourse. Every film about war ends up being pro-war. While war film theorists, such as Chapman, Soltysik-Monet, and Truffaut frame the broader discourse this thesis engages with, the phenomenological work of Merleau-Ponty, Sobchak, Barker, Downes, and Dufresne is employed to investigate how Come and See addresses the spectator bodily. Through this framework, this thesis will explore the embodied address of the spectator through phenomenological analysis and investigate the ways its sensory and corporeal strategies might reframe the debate around anti-war cinema by offering an alternative framework on how anti-war film might operate. The written part of this thesis elaborates further on the war film discourse and phenomenological theory that forms the base for this thesis. This audiovisual segment emphasizes the phenomenological experience itself, with the purpose of showing and hopefully making felt what's argued across both components. This analysis focuses on three embodied experiences from the chapter of the film called Thomas. Each demonstrates how the phenomenological techniques leverage proximity to shape an uncomfortable confrontational embodied experience. The first experience we encounter is one of alarm.
Mama!
From the very beginning of this chapter, the film establishes the tone of the scene. The narrow 4:3 aspect ratio feels claustrophobic. It denies a comfortable overview and pulls you in closer to what is shown. A low, rumbling sound fills the background of the soundscape, creating an oppressive atmosphere. Throughout the sequence, this rumble slowly rises in pitch, subtly evoking anticipation. The actions of the characters are heard clearly in the foreground, but the previously lively village is completely devoid of sound. No people, no animals, not even a bird chirping. This foreboding soundscape communicates a sense of unease to your body, even if you don't consciously notice it. Already from the first few moments, you feel physically unsettled, not sitting as comfortably as before. As Floria and Glacia move around in the hut, the tension does not release and becomes more palpable. The unsettling soundscape matched by the cautious and awkward interaction of the characters. The small dark hut enhances the uneasy scene, with its oppressive claustrophobic presence. The camera moves slowly, only when necessary and with as few cuts as possible, which further enhances the tense atmosphere. The intermittent sound of buzzing flies is targeted at your body, sounding so close as if they occupy the same space as you. You might notice your body wants to move away from the sound or swat at the non-existent flies. But even if you resist this instinctive urge, it settles in your muscles as discomfort. Slowly, this long, uneasy address starts affecting your viscera, causing your heartbeat to rise slightly. When Glacia spits out her food, it's clear something is about to happen. The insistent buzzing of flies has increased, as well as a sharp rising cymbal joining the soundscape, further cueing anticipation. The long-held tension now sharply rising, culminating in an embodied feeling of alarm. When the dolls are shown, the soundscape is joined by the sound of a crying kitten, which sounds suspiciously human, and a church bell tolling, which is an omen of death. These non-diegetic sounds are forms of cinematic expression that communicate wrongness to your body through the embodied address of the film. Everything in this scene is working together to communicate wrongness and uneasiness to your body, not allowing any reprieve from that feeling, letting it fester and grow, then suddenly cueing anticipation to create the experience of alarm. The empty village, the messy table, and the dolls all suggest tragedy has befallen Floria's family. But instead of letting you realize from afar, you are made to bodily feel the wrongness and tension of the events as they unfold. Rather than solely relying on narrative exposition or dialogue, the film implicates you bodily through the close proximity of the embodied address, drawing you into the events depicted on screen. Directly following the shot of the dolls, another remarkable experience presents itself, one of pain. You are confronted with a close-up shot of Floria. You are placed directly in front of him. This intense closeness feels intrusive. While Floria suffers under the realization of the possible fate of his family, you are made to observe him intimately. At the same time, a sharp beep and loud buzzing overwhelm you, so loud it's almost unbearable. This overwhelming soundscape, combined with the confrontational contact with Floria's face, makes you tense up. You might feel your fists or jaw clench. At the peak of intensity, Floria breaks this contact by running outside and the sound ceases as well. When you release the bodily tension, you notice that Floria wasn't the only one grimacing. The film addresses you directly, evoking an experience of pain through bodily discomfort. By doing so, making you intimately involved with the events of the scene. Come and See employs the human face often as a facet of its embodied address. As humans, we innately understand and bodily respond to the human face. The intense proximity violates you in your personal space, affecting you physically. Although this effect arises from perceiving a character's face, it does not function through sympathy or identification with the character. Rather, the film using our innate affinity with the human face as part of its embodied address to impact you bodily. In this breaking of the construct of the film, the boundary between film and viewer collapses, the film peering into reality as much as you are drawn into the world of the film. You feel perceived by the gaze, implicating you in the events, or made to closely observe the effects of the horrific events on the faces of the characters, making you a close witness. Regardless of the context it is used in, the confrontational contact is striking every single time. The third and final experience, shock, employs proximity in a different way. These preceding moments, before the experience of shock, have an overall calm embodied address. The soundscape has calming diegetic sounds in the background, birds chirping, wind blowing. The shots vary in length, not only holding intimate proximity, and the outside setting is more colorful and spacious. Of course, there is still a slightly tense undercurrent, but compared to the previous scenes, this scene is more soothing. This calm atmosphere allows for some respite from all the intensity. Not building tension or anticipation, you are positioned as a passive observer.
Знаю, где они. Пошли. Балда! Пошли. Я не тут. Близко.
When Floria and Glacia are about to take off, the film places you in the scene to follow them passively from a short distance. When it shortly after cuts to Glacia's perspective, you are confronted with the horrible sight of a mass execution. With no anticipation or cue that would signal such a horrific reveal, it comes as a complete surprise. In the initial moment of perceiving the gruesome scene, you might recoil or turn away in a reflexive kinetic response. The bodies are seen from a distance, and when the blurry focus settles, the camera passes behind two small trees, partially obscuring the scene. The fleeting moment is just long enough to discern limbs and blood among the mangled pile of bodies, but denies visual mastery. When the camera reverts to the original passive observant position, the loud cries of Glacia are heard closely as she tries to catch up with the unsuspecting Floria. You are left reeling, with the image still running through your mind. With Glacia's loud, terrified cries close to your ear, the initial shock fades, and the dread of the reality of this scene sinks into your viscera. You can feel your heartbeat quickened, your stomach tightened, and you might even feel nauseous. The entire scene has a rather distant embodied address. You are not positioned in intimate proximity with either the scene or the characters. But exactly this distance is what is necessary to evoke such a visceral embodied response. The dry delivery increases the shock of the sudden horrific reveal, while at the same time not making an exciting spectacle out of the representation of death. It feels more impactful because this is how crude, pointless and mundane such atrocities are in reality. There's no dramatization or mediation to excite or otherwise distract from the dreadful event. You are positioned as a witness to the scene, made to watch the atrocity and let it sink into your being. In this way, through the uncomfortable confrontational embodied address, the gravity of the representation stays intact, as well as the vulnerability of the spectator. In a way, through a more distant embodied proximity, you are actually brought closer to what is shown. By analyzing these three embodied experiences of alarm, pain, and shock, it becomes clear that Come and See's viewing experience is not one shaped to simply entertain through the lens of some historical events. Come and See does not allow a distant observation of the events depicted. It places the spectator into the position of a close witness. The film consistently involves and implicates you intimately through the embodied address, by evoking feelings of unease, discomfort, tension, dread, and more. I argue that phenomenological analysis can help to cement Come and See's status as an anti-war film, because the effective structure of the film is manifested in the embodied experience. When you open yourself up to the experience that Come and See facilitates, and you allow yourself to be bodily moved by it. When you feel the uncomfortable confrontational experience of war, that this film is. You come to understand the attitude of the film, the intention with which it moves us. By analyzing the phenomenological techniques that underpin the embodied experience, we can conclude that Kamenzi's embodied experience is a sensuous confrontation with the horrific realities of war. This thesis suggests that through phenomenological analysis, there is potential to broaden the discussion surrounding anti-war cinema. And if such approaches gain more traction, they may offer new ways in which scholars can challenge, and then maybe prove Truffaut's long-standing claim that every film about war ends up being pro-war, finally wrong.